I was in sleepaway camp like the second night, terrible stomach pains, and the counselor took me to the nurse, and she gave me this green liquid in a clear cough syrup cup, and I downed it, and it tasted terrible. But that green liquid, walking back to the bunk, introduced me to the world, and I felt like Superman.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, The Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
Got a new episode dropping every Monday and Thursday. Please come check it out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
Darren,
Yeah, bro.
welcome to the Hopeaholics Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, shout out to our boy, Frank,
Yeah, 100%.
for
Thank you.
connecting us.
Yeah, thank you, Frank Parisi.
Yeah. Frank's a go-to guy, man. You could depend on Frank.
Yeah.
You know, he's a guy you could call and depend on. He's going to call you back. He's going to take you through the tough times. He's going to love you when you're not lovable. And he's going to make you see the light because he's got a deep story. He's got an impactful story
Yes, sir.
of doom and gloom and death right there on the doorstep.
Yeah.
You know?
And he's got that God flowing through him.
Yeah.
And
bro.
I you know
Spirit.
what? And not to spend too much time, but Frank introduced us. You know, you're here because we had Frank on the podcast.
Oh.
He speaks very, very highly of you. But one last thing about Frank is what I love is that, you know, his God, his flow of God isn't this man religious God that is confusing to people. It's just all love. And that's what I try to preach. If I preach anything about God, God is all love.
Yeah. I mean, him and I had to talk about that yesterday for 20 minutes. And just, we don't care. I mean,
Totally.
I'm so dialed. I've been dialed coming up on 17 years sober.
Ooh.
And there's moments that,
Sure.
oof, I mean, it's just chills waking up in the morning and all the personal development work that I do and manifestation and breath work and, you know, sound frequency and service work. And my 501c3, the Aiming High Foundation, that scholarships people. This morning I got off the phone with Banyan, which is the largest privately owned treatment center. So not only are we covering all the flights for veterans, we just committed a grant to cover all the flights for everyday people that can't afford to be flown to Florida.
Amazing.
The minute I do that, it's just like my whole body.
That is-
just like,
That is awesome.
it's the greatest thing in the world. No matter how busy my business, my agency is, there's nothing that compares to that.
For sure.
Nothing will ever compare. It is just the euphoric national high that I was looking for my entire life.
Totally.
Nothing compares to service work, huh?
Yep.
You're sober, man.
So
Yeah, when's your birthday?
spiritually sober, July 2nd, 2008.
Nice.
Yep.
That's a long time.
I was just at that jumping off point. You heard about people having the gift of desperation. Well, I had it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just, you know, I thank God for my uncle who's no longer here and his then girlfriend at the time. They were both in recovery. That day before was sort of a God shot, which I didn't even know what that would have meant
Totally.
on July 1st, 2008. And I was just broken. Ego too big to go to treatment.
Sure.
A big multi-million-dollar sports and entertainment agency. You know, I'll figure this out. And I came clean to this woman. I never met her before. They were visiting my mom from, they were in town from Miami to Livingston, New Jersey. And she's like, you look okay. You don't look okay. Are you okay? And I don't know, there was tractor beams. And I felt like being vulnerable and honest. And she's like, I understand. And she's like, you realize you're an addict and your life isn't unmanageable. And I said, yep. She goes, do you realize that you have a disease? And I said, yeah, I do. And she's like, do you realize this? And she looks at all the pictures of me and Muhammad Ali and Pamela Anderson and Hulk Hogan and Magic Johnson and all these iconic people that were friends and clients. And she goes, you don't mean anything. Because this is the only thing that means anything. You got to start meaning something to yourself from within.
100.
And that broke my soul.
Yeah.
And I started to cry, and I realized everything was that external validation. And she goes, I can help you. And with that, she goes into her pocket, and she goes, I'm in recovery. I just celebrated 5 years 2 weeks ago. I never met this woman before. And she goes, if you want to do anything it takes, I could take you through it, and you can have a life beyond your wildest dreams. And yeah, it was 36 hours later, I started detoxing off the Suboxone and the Ambien. I was drinking maybe a couple days a week, the mood stabilizers. In hindsight, I should have done it the right way, but thank God the miracle happened, because I was living in the city. I had my place in New Jersey in the city. I was married at the time. I called them up screaming after working out at 6 o'clock at night. I said, I can't fucking do this anymore. I'm calling the goddamn doctor to get what I really need to get. My brain is opiate freaking deficient. I just had a meltdown, and my uncle then picked up the phone because she was trying to coach me through and said, it's the goddamn disease talking. You've been behaving this way since you were freaking 14. It's time to kick the shit out of the goddamn disease, humble your motherfucking ego, and get yourself to a 12-step meeting the right way this time, not court-ordered, and put your goddamn hand up and surrender. I said, there's no freaking way. I've been to those stupid meetings. I hung up the phone, ran into the bathroom, locked the door. My then wife, Simone, was banging on the door because I had a horrible overdose a year earlier. She thought I was going to kill myself, and I'm going through all the medicine cabinets trying to find any sort of non-narcotic anxiety pills that Andrea told me I could take. And out came 2 extra cent Vicodins out of one of the bottles, which was always so bizarre. I'm still close with my ex-wife. She came by a few months ago after my mom passed away. She wanted to see me, and we talk about that moment. Like, we've spent hours going through the medicine cabinet. So to me, that was also a God shot that those 2 pills happened to be left, and all the oxys and the Percocets were all gone. And I thought that was a miracle. It's exactly what I needed. But then it happened. And man, I still get chills every time I talk about it and tears in my eyes, because I fell to my knees and I screamed out to God, take the money, take the business, take the notoriety. I need a single fucking day of freedom. If you take me out of hell, I will spend one day at a time taking others out of hell with me. And this shoulder caught fire. I heard a voice in my good ear, because I'm partially deaf in my left, that said, I've got you when you're ready. And I stood up and I flushed the pills and wound up in the living room of my apartment at the Caroline building, right onto a computer, looking up 12-step AA meetings, NA meetings. And I found one in the church basement in the upper 80s. And there was no Ubers back then. So I went downstairs on this beautiful summer night of July 2nd, 2008. And as I'm in the cab, just looking up the sky, I'm saying, what the hell just happened? For the first time in my life, I wanted to stay sober more than I wanted to get high. And, you know, it was a white light moment I never had before, and I haven't had since. And I walked into this church basement with 150, 200 addicts and alcoholics who were all once of a hopeless state of mind. And the leader said, is anybody new coming back or suffering? And I would say it was the hand of God that raised it, because this hand went right up. And I said, I'm suicidal. I'm struggling. I need your guys' help. I have such a great life outside these rooms, and I don't know why I do it to myself. And ego crushed. You know, that's the perfect definition of it right there. That's super agent bullshit, and everything that I wanted it to keep hearing to feed my ego was nothing, because this was life and death. And these people taught me the most incredible things in that hour was, you know, stick with the winners. Don't worry if you don't get the fellowship. You keep showing up. The fellowship is going to get you. It's easier to stay here than it is to come back. The 5 A's, attitude adjustment, accountability, acceptance, and action. And then the one that was half a dozen of them came over to me at the end, and they said, we're going to love you before you ever know how to love yourself. Yeah. And that changed my life.
Listen, I mean,
it's everything.
I literally, dude, I was crying.
Yeah.
Literally lit my soul on fire.
Yeah.
That's literally what it's all about right there. And the perfectly said. Like, I could not have said it better.
And two things that, as you were telling me this, right? And I know
every time. Yeah.
I know your story.
And the energy's thicker with us.
Yeah.
You know.
For sure.
You had at that moment in time, you had what most people would call a life beyond their wildest dreams. And what was so powerful to me is that lady said to you, I can give you a life beyond your wildest dreams. And it's something that we say around here all the time, because, you know, my story is a little bit different, but I felt exactly the same way you felt. Exactly the same way you felt.
Yeah.
Same.
It doesn't, she also told me this. It doesn't matter if you're from Park Avenue or Park Bench or
100%.
Yale to jail.
Doesn't discriminate.
So it doesn't matter how we got there.
Yeah.
We got there.
Yeah.
And then we all have our own journey through recovery.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that I was a high bottom, Like my sponsor said, old school Italian guy from Newark, New Jersey, did time in prison, and he's royalty in the state of New Jersey at treatment centers and mental health. And when I first asked him to be my sponsor, he really humbled me even further after a month we're on the phone. Hey, he goes, listen here, motherfucker. He goes, you had an ego the size of New Jersey. We don't find ones like you going back out. We find guys like you dead 6 foot under, okay? Because you got all the goddamn resources to get whatever you want.
Yeah.
At any time.
At any time.
Yeah.
And that was just sent chills to my spine. And he just kept me,
'Cause
really in
that's the truth.
alignment that I don't need to hear the outside noise of how great I am or oh my God, this with business or that deal, congratulations, or this your client's doing it. Doesn't do anything. That's them.
Yeah.
Everybody I've worked with and worked for were renowned icons long before they ever met Darren Prince.
Yeah.
I'm a good people person. I know how to negotiate, and I treat them all like family, and I'm a great networker as far as building relationships and keeping relationship. I'm nobody freaking special. My God is the one that's special.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
The second thing that you said, it actually made me realize the importance of whether you relapse or you're coming in for your first time ever, is putting up that hand or walking up and getting that newcomer chip at Narcotics Anonymous.
Yep.
Down that path, because all of us are egomaniacs. And I relapsed so my bottom was my bottom in jails, institutions, all of that. But then I got sober and I built a life, and that became my identity. Stopped doing my spiritual stuff. I relapsed. Walking back into the rooms was really hard for me. You're fine. Yeah.
Well, the beautiful thing is, I think you realize now we don't shoot our wounded.
Yes.
Not at all.
Yes.
We celebrate them.
Celebrate them.
When somebody comes back, I think it's the most amazing
too.
thing in the world. And I always say this with such pride, and just because I know it lights somebody up, that you're the winner.
Totally.
Because you just told every single one of us, guess what, guys? It ain't any better out there.
No.
You're the chosen one.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to tell people when we're in meetings and in the community and somebody talks about struggling, but they're now back.
Yeah.
Because we have that built-in forgetter, as we say. I don't ever want to lose that.
See that
I love having, in New Jersey, they used to call them dream and relapse nightmares. It's like, why it's a nightmare? I was like, that's a dream. I was like, I love having this.
Totally.
I go, because if I go 2, 3, 4, 5 months, a year or two, and it doesn't happen, and all of a sudden I wake up like, holy crap, I want that reminder. I want to know that the devil's not out beating me, banging out push-ups and getting past my spiritual recovery.
Yeah.
I don't want complacency.
Yeah.
I love if it happens every couple of months, and I just wake up like, as sober and further away I am from that next relapse, I'm right next to it.
And you're right. We have a great forgetter, man. And the best thing that was gifted to me was the same thing that was gifted to you. To combat my great forgetter was that gift of desperation.
Yep.
And that gift of desperation was driven in so deep that I can't forget how painful it was. This last time, the last day when I got sober, I was in my house and bail agent kicked in the front door.
Oof.
And it was utter and complete surrender because nothing else was working. And I got to detox at one of the toughest detox centers around, but it was the one that worked the best for me, county jail, because I couldn't leave.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
That is a beautiful thing. I mean, what we think is the bottom is actually the beginning.
That's right.
Yeah.
Totally.
To have that That's the miracle right there, because once we put like one foot in front of the other, and we start to understand what this is about and work in the steps and service to other people and work on that unresolved trauma, we start becoming whole. We realize that now the life of our wildest dream is happening. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you another funny story. So I'm 1 year sober, and I'm in Monaco I was still married at the time, and people were texting me, and I'm just like beaming. When you get to that 1 year point, it's just like the greatest thing ever. I'm like better than like any birthday celebration. And sponsor Steve calls me up, and he goes, you feeling pretty good, huh? What time is it out there? And I think we were just in Cannes having like a lunch, and might have been 5-6 hours ahead in Jersey. And he's like, so listen, I want to talk to you. I go, yeah. He goes, you know what tomorrow is? I go, well, it's July 2nd. Tomorrow's July 3rd. He goes, nope. He goes, tomorrow's 1 year and 1 day. He goes, now let me tell you, you've been a little bit of a taker the past year. He goes, you got a platform that very few people have. And I'm not saying anything about the traditions or whatnot, but I really believe if you start becoming more open about your journey on social media, interviews, things that you've been through the past year, he goes, you're going to find out what it means that you can't keep your recovery unless you give it away to others, because you have the ability to get to a lot more people than just in the rooms.
Yeah.
And that next day, I did a post on Facebook. My mom was embarrassed. As proud as she was, Jewish mother from the suburbs of New Jersey, my dad was ecstatic. Nothing made him so happy. And the DMs that I got and the comments on the page and the text messages of, oh my God, congratulations, of my husband struggling. That was just almost to me as big as July 2nd, 2008 was, because that was like that time where I started feeling, wow, like there's something much bigger here than just Darren Prince. This just isn't about my journey and being there now for my family and my friends and the people that work for me and my clients. That's when the light bulb went on in 2009.
Well, and we have in our culture, it's called Tikkun Olam. We have that thing where we want to make the universe a better place. Mm-hmm. That's instilled in us from 3,000 years ago. Yep. So, you know what I mean? Yep. We're just learning. I'm just learning about that now. Yep. And I've been watching you in this legacy. And I want to go back to you mentioned 14 years old a few times. Yeah. That's a special year for you. Yeah. On a number of occasions. Yep. Could we go into that a little bit? Yeah. So 14 was the same year that I experimented with my first drug at sleepaway camp. When I guess it was, when I look back, more homesick and anxiety, having a very overprotective mother. Yeah. I was in sleepaway camp like the second night, terrible stomach pains, and the counselor took me to the nurse, and she gave me this green liquid in a clear cough syrup cup, and I downed it, and it tasted terrible. But that green liquid, walking back to the bunk, introduced me to the world, and I felt like Superman. Mm-hmm. And now I get back to the bunk. I'm the funny one, the popular one, the talkative one. I feel just as cool, just as smart. I feel good looking. I go to the bunk next door and start flirting with girls for the first time. And that green liquid wound up introducing the world to Darren Prince, because I later found out after my mom and dad came up for visitation day, I was taking liquid Demerol for 3 weeks straight every night. And I don't regret it. Like, I do a lot of public speaking all over the world, and sometimes there's audiences, especially when it's like high schools or galas, you hear moms, and we're going, oh my God, like, no, that nurse, thank God, I'll never forget her name, Greta, because back then, opiates might not have been as much of a CDS, you know what I'm saying, controlled dangerous substance, and it would have happened anyway. To have dentist appointment 3 months later, I had wisdom teeth removed. I lied and conned to my mom and took him back to the dentist the next morning. I put the crocodile tears on. Mom, my tooth is killing me. I don't know what's going on. Because when I took those first 2 pills the day I got back from the doctor and the pharmacy, I got that same feeling from the green liquid. So while that was happening, though, I would get into this euphoric space about this imaginary business that I had.
of selling baseball cards. Because when you're 14 in 1984, baseball cards are not cool anymore. But when you're a late bloomer with a woman, you don't really care about going on dates because you're uncomfortable, you're not confident with yourself. So I had 3 odd jobs where I was buying all my friends' baseball card collections that they no longer cared about. I was working at a sneaker store in the stock room, a pizzeria. I was squeezing orange juice at a grocery store. Actually 4 jobs and a busboy. So I would, buy their collection $10, $20, and was challenged by an intro to business teacher. The whole class, it was about 40 of us. And that was the one class that I felt comfortable with. And I've mentioned my clips on Legacy Makers. Yeah. It's the only normal class I was ever in, intro to business. I grew up special ed, very small classrooms, was verbally teased, made fun of. 4 kids in a class while all my friends were in classes with 50. So I'm very passionate about speaking to kids about speaking up about feeling different.
There you go.
Because that's why I was a perfect candidate for substance abuse.
Yeah.
And so this teacher is still very near and dear to me, Elliot Lovey, pulled me aside. And after he instructed the whole class, go home, I want you to create a business. And whatever it might be. Back then, you don't even have like proper computers, so you're either writing it or typing it on a typewriter. Now, I thought I had one, I just never executed. My father was my best friend in the world and mentor in many ways and guidance on business and in life. Came back from school that night, that afternoon, and I told him, I said, Dad, I need insurance for my baseball cards. And I wish he was alive to tell the story because he used to love the way he told it. And it's like, insurance, like, what do you have? I'm like, I don't know. I think I got about 8 or 9 probably worth of cards. So I was like, all right, I'll call the homeowner's insurance and I'll get you $1,000 worth of insurance. And I remember sitting in front of him on the couch as he was watching TV, and I pulled his jeans and go, Dad, 8 or 9,000. I had 8 or 900. He goes, where the hell did you get 8 or 9,000 worth of baseball cards? Wow. So I run back upstairs. I get the price guide. I pull this huge ad in a newspaper about a baseball card show. And he goes, but who's going to buy them? And I said, it's funny you should ask. So I pull this ad out. It's this big. And I go, for $20, I can get a table at this baseball card show in 2 weeks on a Sunday afternoon. And I said, I want to start a business because Elliot Lovey, just challenge us, Mr. Liberty, create one. So he goes, what do you want to call it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm thinking the name Baseball Card City sounds pretty good. Well, that business turned up to explode.
Wow.
So the nerdy, quiet, dorky, stupid kid was making, by the time he was 15, 16 years old, $300,000 to $400,000 a year in high school with a massive mail order baseball card company. So now you take the unbrokenness, you take the part of me that's unhealed, and that money comes. Women still weren't a priority to me. I didn't even care about that at that point. But that money meant everything.
Yep.
Because eventually when I dropped out of college my freshman year and I sold that company, I moved into booking autograph signings for athletes and celebrities, and that's what eventually led me to Prince Marketing Group. I don't know if you guys have read my book, Aiming High.
No.
So I'll tell your audience about it now. So I was investigated by the FBI back in 19. You always like the juicy stories when it comes to things like this. Believe me, I'm no saint. I've got my own track record. So I was investigated for mail fraud in I think it was around 94, 95. There was a big investigation going on for fraudulent Michael Jordan autographs that were being authenticated by a forensic document expert that used to work for the FBI. Now, I did believe what I was selling was legit because it's just like if you buy a real dime and you want the GIA certification. I thought this guy was legit, but I was also, my ego was still too big for myself because I was working with Muhammad Ali and Magic Johnson and Pamela Anderson in their heyday and Chevy Chase. And, so you're just thinking, oh, it's just another phenomenal name of this product line that we can carry. And so I got investigated over a 2-year period. I wound up getting charged with making a false statement to the FBI during the investigation. I would have been good in the Jewish mob. I protected the guy that sold to me because I thought he was a good guy. Meanwhile, he was involved in the whole racket. So a lot of people went to prison. And so my next story of my life is how Prince Marketing Group came about. I took my dad to Alaska on a fly fishing trip. Put the last $3,000 to my name. I went from being this young hotshot in high school to having $3,000, maybe 4 left to my name. I remember it was horrible because I sent out refund letters to a lot of people on the memorabilia. My dad always taught me that reputation's the hardest thing to uphold, easiest thing to lose and only get one shot. And I knew I still wanted to stay involved in some level of entrepreneurship and business. So we're on this fly fishing trip, beautiful stream in Alaska. And I think I just did a post on this a couple days ago. And he's like, what's your next move going to be? Because you're going to go back into the business or no. I said, Dad, it's so weird. Like, people, like, when you're on top of that business, they love you. There's so many guys talking crap. It's like they wanted to see me fail. I said, I want to be an agent, but I don't have 8 years to go to law school.
Right.
And he drops the fish. And he drops the fishing pole. But this most incredible stream with bald eagles and mooses, and we got our own tour guide. He goes, come here. What the hell makes you think you need to go to law school? He goes, life is about who you know, not what you know. Do you realize the people that you know? That there's not an entertainment lawyer in Hollywood or New York City that you can go to Chevy Chase's house or go see Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee on Mulholland Drive and go to Magic's in Beverly Hills and Joe Montana's in San Francisco. So he starts rattling off the names, and Joe Frazier's gym in Philadelphia. As he said that, it was like something was running through me. A dad's love and a dad's support. And he goes, I would speak to Magic Johnson. He's been a good friend to the family the past 3 years, and see if this is something he'll do with you. And it was a few weeks later, I was in a hotel suite in Sterling, Michigan with him. We were getting ready for an appearance. And that nervous little kid, he invited me into his suite. And I remember this is really like a life-changing favor and something I got to ask him. I got to get the nerve up to ask him, because autograph signings are one thing, but I'm asking a freaking representing guy to do all the big stuff now, and I have no track record whatsoever. But he also knew I was kind of struggling. I came out of the problem, and so he asked how things went with the court case, and he kind of knew about it, but he just wanted to hear it from me. And he goes, look, man, God tests great men and women, and you're going to turn lemons into lemonade. And what do you think you're going to do? You're going to, start something new or what? And I built up the courage. I remember I told myself I got to get it out. And I call him Irvin by his real name. It's Irvin Magic Johnson. I said, Irvin, I want to be an agent, man, and I want to do the big stuff. And I think I'm capable of doing it. I got to know a lot of people over these last 3 or 4 years. And he's like, boy, you made a mistake. And I know all about making a mistake in the public eye like you did. And this was a few years after the HIV announcement.
Yeah.
And he goes, I love you and I love your family. You're a good dude. He goes, and we're going to do this together.
Wow.
And he told me magical words that we met in December for an hour. And every time I tell him the story, we both tear up because we remember it like yesterday. He goes, I'm going to give you 2 years. But if you don't use me to knock down every door in those 2 years to bring in all the celebrities you can to build up your agency, I'm going to fire you before those 2 years are up. Because life isn't how successful I become, Darren. I'm going to become a success in the world of sports and entertainment in retirement years they've never seen before. Fast forward, he's got a multi-billion-dollar brand. He goes, life is about how successful I can make you and everybody else around me. Because when you get there, it's your job to pay it forward to other people. And then it was a rocket ship. I mean, every one of the clients started signing. Started doing promotion, advertise before you know it. I mean, I'm doing things like I never even thought was possible for a college dropout with a 0.86 GPA. Everything from, Super Bowl commercials and licensing deals and keynote appearances. And yeah, my dad's support and then Magic Johnson giving me access like that and his blessing.
And were you doing all of that meanwhile massaging it with your addiction, or when did the addiction really
Yes,
pop
so
off?
what happened was I learned about, you're obviously in the industry, so you know about morality clauses.
Yeah.
So I moved away from all the illegal drugs. Once Magic became a client and Prince Marketing Group got started, and I did have legitimate sciatica. I was always in the gym, still in the gym all the time. So doctors gave me everything that I needed. I mean, I'd get him I'd bring Joe Frazier into one of their offices. He'd drive up from Philly. He'd be in town like, champ, I got to go to a doctor's appointment. I'd get Hulk Hogan on the phone to, say what's up to some of the doctors, bring an autograph photo in. They're like, we got the coolest patient in the world. And I'd be like, yeah, by the way, I need 100 Percocets for this next trip. Because even back then, early on, I'd say in the mid to late 90s, you didn't need a triplicate.
No,
Yeah.
no.
You know, and Oxycontins really
You could have
weren't
5
around.
doctors.
Yeah, Oxycontins weren't even around until probably the late part of the 90s. So I did that. I would drink a few days a week. But I often say when I speak, at some point, what was once living to use turned out to using to live.
Yeah.
And it worked for the first 3-4 years. I'm very careful when I speak to high school kids because I don't want to send off the wrong idea that, oh, look
Right.
at the way he lived. They're very smart and they pick up on
Yeah.
that.
Right.
And I was like, no, it didn't work because they're like, well, Mr. Prince, how do you think you would have been if you weren't on those pills? Do you think that took away your focus or like maybe you wouldn't have been as successful because it seemed like you were very
Sure.
confident? And, you know, they come up with a lot of great questions. So, yeah, but the truth is even at that point, I started making real money again, but I had tax problems for like a year because I wasn't paying attention to being in touch with the business managers enough or the CPAs. And thank God I was able to get out of it because the business was successful enough. But I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I know how to make money, but I really, at the end of the day, I'm not like a guy that knows how to run a business.
Yeah.
You know, I know how to hustle, get out there, do deals for my clients. So that was a wake-up call too. And that definitely happened because, like I said, I was just so immersed in the fact that everything was about getting out of myself. Now I'm getting recognition, and it's all the women that's coming with it and not knowing how to handle any of this and all that underlining, you know, grandiosity and, you know, need for that external validation. Kind of like Jay Shetty's a dear friend. I was on his podcast a couple of years ago. We talked about it. He goes, that's crazy. He goes, like, you got there. He goes, most people there, when you think about it, they never get there and they're still looking back because you actually got there. And you're staring back at the people that'll never understand that level of success. I said, isn't that something? How that works?
But yet you still suffer from the same exact thing from the guy that is sitting in a jail cell and has not a pot to piss in.
Same thing.
Same thing, which is like crazy why your story is so powerful because, you know, we have these delusions in our brain, right? Our imagination takes us to a lot of places and it's like, yeah, that's what I want. The fame, the fortune, the notoriety, the women, the celebrity, the fame, the accolades, the constant, which ultimately, yes, it's amazing and it's great. However, you want to kill yourself.
And when you get there, and it's not just in my line of work, as you know, all of you know, people have this vision. They got this idea for success. They got these financial goals, and you get there. All of a sudden, it's like, this is nice, but why don't I feel great?
Totally.
Why don't I thought this was everything. You know, Jim Carrey's talked about it. I see a lot of everyday people that are on social media talking about that feeling. It's reality because I have a different definition of what wealth and riches. You know, I mean, thankfully we're in, you know, I'm in a tremendous financial situation, but I mean, I say this, put my hand, go right on a polygraph test right now, and I say this is authentic as could be. If I lost the business and the money agency tomorrow, I had to move into a little studio or whatever it might be, or move in with a friend, I'd be good because I found me.
Exactly.
I found self-love. And I could look back and say, God, what a run. Oh my gosh. What's next? Maybe I do work in the treatment industry or just find something else because what a run and the amount of people I was able to bless, you know, in recovery so far. Hopefully there'll be a lot more, but just as important, people that had the opportunity to work with me at Prince Marketing Group and the relationships I formed and agents that, you know, their lives blossom because of me listening to what Magic Johnson wanted me to do. I'm good. You know, I'm 55. I'm recently single again, and I'm like, probably never getting married. I can care less. I tried that once. My mom is gone. My dad passed in 17. The blessings about both of those is they both got to see the best version of me. My mom passed in November.
Amazing.
She had a sober son for 16 and a half years, and dad was February 15th of 2017. He had his son back for 8.5 years. So I'm like, even with grandkids, I'm like, probably not going to have it either. So now I just look at money. It's just having what I need to support my lifestyle and taking care of all the people around me that are near and dear. That makes me happier than anything.
I feel you.
You know what? I had the same. I mean, I was in that class. I'll never forget Danny Gunn. His family owned the Jewish bakery in the city. Everyone went to Gunn's Bakery for Friday nights. I'll never forget him walking into the room. He said, "Whoa, I'm not in this room with you idiots." You know what I mean? And that was back when I was like 9, 10 years old.
And
I
you
was
never forget that,
I
right?
never, bro, never. Now, I was in that class, and all I could remember was, I'm going to be richer than you. I'm going to have more girls and a bigger house. That's all I wanted, because I didn't know what we learned later in life, that what you learned at 17 years ago, that it's inside.
Yep.
And I don't care about the inside, because I can't show you my fucking inside, bro. But you're going to see my outside, that's for sure.
Yep.
And I did that. And there was no satisfaction.
No,
There was none. But I got there, and everyone knew I got there.
Yep.
No, and you were a real jerk when you got there.
But the
I
point-
knew you.
But the point was that you set out to do something. You did it. You got there.
Yep.
As unhappy as you were when you got there, you still did it.
Yeah.
And you showed people. And now you had an opportunity to change your life on the inside,
Yep.
and then show people again.
And I do it every day.
Every day.
At a different level. I mean, than most. I've been, David Goggins has been my guy for three and a half years.
I love that dude.
He's a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, he is.
Nobody bigger.
No, totally.
And, I had a situation with him 3.5 years ago. We first met. I booked him at an event in Atlanta, Georgia, and him and his wife Jennifer came into the green room, and I gave him a couple copies of my book, Aiming High, and he looks and he's looking at me. He goes, I know who you are, motherfucker. He goes, you're a bad motherfucker. He goes, you work with some badass people. He goes, I'm big, he goes, he starts showing her, look, magic and this one. He goes, like, fan of a bunch of them. He goes, I met a bunch of them too. And then she walks out and he puts the book down. And he goes, let me tell you something. He goes, come here. He puts both hands on my shoulder, full militant mode, stares at me. He goes, it's like, forget all these other goddamn agencies, man, the CAs and this one. And he goes, they're all freaking tried. It's all about the money. He goes, I don't give a shit about the money. I'm more than I need to know, than I know what to do with. He goes, you're my motherfucker. You know why? Because you go to God and war with yourself every day to make the world a better fucking place.
People respect that.
I love that dude. You don't know me, son? Like, that dude is my shit. Like, I was on a whole thing. I mean, him and Cam Hanes. Like, Cam Hanes is one reason why I started ultra running. Because it's like, we put limits on ourselves so much all the time. And like you talking about your dad and father, like kind of instilling this self-belief in you before you believed it yourself, Those are the types of things that we as humans need to do to others, like especially like the love, right? I'm going to love you before you love yourself. Because I'm going to show you that you're lovable. Because ultimately when we walk into the rooms, we are broken to pieces. And you need someone to love on you for a little bit until you kind of get those like little inklings every single day. And that's why it is so, I love your story, because it is a testament of you doing the deal, because you're coming up, you said 19? 17. Where all we have is today. Because I say it all the time, that she's doing push-ups and working out 24/7, ready to take me the fuck out if I don't stay on it and have my daily reprieve.
I love how you just framed that and said that too. So Goggins had his double knee surgery about, I think it was like last April. He kept putting it off. And then Lewis Howes is my boy too. He was on stage with them. My guys, Keaton Hawkins and Dan Fleischman, all those Aspire. We do a lot with all those guys. Aspire, my girl Alex Smith. They're all incredible people. What they're doing, teaching entrepreneurship and mindset. So this specific one was a different one that Dan was doing in Salt Lake, and Lewis was the on stage interviewer, and Goggins, like, he literally had crutches in the green room, and Lewis asked him about doing push-ups, and he's like, you gonna challenge me, motherfucker?
Right.
He goes, really? And he banged out 50 freaking push-ups on stage in front of 9,000 people.
Who called
militant style.
Who called him out?
Lewis Howes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was so epic. I have pictures on my phone. It was so freaking epic. And then when he got done, and I took him back in the green room to grab his stuff before I always walk him out, I go, bro, let me ask you something. I go, I didn't even ask you, like, when you had that done, like, what was, like, the mindset? Because obviously being a runner,
Sure.
I go, like, I don't mean to, like, be offensive with the word, because I know what a savage is. You get depressed. He goes, bro, because it doesn't even come to my mind. I just get the fucking upper body jacked up. That's what I fucking did for 3 fucking months. I get the upper body jacked up. I get the mind more callous. He goes, you just freaking pivot.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, he goes, that's just the only way I know. And then even a couple of weeks ago, Andy Elliott's a dear friend of mine, and I flew to Arizona to see him and do his podcast, and he's like a mini Savage Goggins. Like, Goggins helped change his life, and he's got this incredible sales force of 500-600 guys that are all mini Goggins, and he's trained them all, militant style, fitness, mindset, sales, and he's one of the good ones. And something came up about COVID, and I said, did you got COVID? He goes, dude, I can't even tell you the last time I've even been sick. He goes, I don't really get like an ailment, or he goes, when I'm done with the day, I'm thinking about attacking the next day to another level, because that's the vibration I live in. I'm like, so you're literally like Goggins. Like, they're so, Goggins is just at such another level with callousing the mind, that being around some of these, you know, world changers, I understand where they're taking it to another level, where why would they feel an emotion or a physical pain? Because they're not living in that frequency. They're waking up every freaking day as if it's their last, and just gonna go freaking crush freaking life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Tim Story's become a dear friend of mine. Like, I've been, and a client too. You know, I've been so aligned with so many different projects, group. There's, you know, I introduced Frank to my people at Brain One. It's an AI fitness app for, you know, a healthy fitness alternative for people, because everyone's know about curls and working out and Pilates and yoga, but what about us talking about our mental protocols? That stuff's needed.
Oh my God! Your mind is everything. Your mind will take you in or take you out.
And there's so much out there nowadays. Like, my day is like, it starts with, I've got my grounding mat.
Yep.
I've got
I sleep on mine.
I've got
I sleep on. I bought them for the bed.
I've got my hydrogen water.
Yeah.
I work out 6 days a week.
Yeah.
I do my meditations, my breath work. My boy Lingerie, who I also introduced to Frank, is a renowned like spiritual breakthrough trauma specialist, where he brings you back into that inner child.
Yes.
And literally you connect with that inner child. And when you're done with the sessions, you just go to another level and consistently work in your character defects. I mean, I go to a frequency place in Westlake Village, and I have a frequency watch. I mean, there's so much ice baths, you know.
Wait,
Sure.
I don't do an ice bath every day. I'm
Totally.
taking an ice cold shower.
Same.
And these are not things, because you're a mental health, mental performance type of mission that you guys are trying to create in a culture, which you obviously have. Like, it doesn't take a lot of money.
No.
I was on Bradley's, my boy. I was on his podcast like a month ago. He's like, hey, but dude, don't these things cost for the average person? I'm like, no. What the frick is a cold shower cost?
Walk outside for 30
Nothing.
minutes and get the sun.
What does breath work cost? You can't afford a $200 grounding mat. Take your freaking goddamn shoes off and walk outside on the grass. You know, and watch all of a sudden, you know, you get stressed out. You can't afford going to the doctor. It's a proven formula. Breath work or nasal breathing for 5 friggin' minutes in a quiet room, laying on the floor. Watch what happens to your brain.
Sit quietly for like 5 minutes with your thoughts.
Yep.
And sit there and meditate. That's free.
That's it.
You know?
Yep.
It's like doing all these basic things.
100%. I was telling you earlier about Nutsa. She's one of my best friends in the world and clients, who was on American Idol and Eurovision this year.
Which is amazing.
And she's just dialed in. I mean, my God, at 28, the like, women need to understand and men, the personal development, because you didn't have it in your 20s. I didn't have it. You didn't have it. And this generation,
Oh my goodness.
they're
Let's
all
not even
coming
start.
up in such a damaged,
Bro.
narcissistic.
Right?
It's
It's unbelievable. Don't even get me
Well,
started.
and they're
on the
putting a
generation.
lot of stuff on other people. Like, as
Finger
if somebody's
pointers.
supposed to
no
make
accountability.
No accountability.
Zero accountability.
No work ethic. Sorry. Even the work ethic
But
is
I
the
you know,
majority.
here's the thing. I
And
have
let's throw the other word in. I'm sorry, I got to interrupt before I forget this one. How about no integrity?
Right?
So what's cool about this next generation though is if you have a child
Yeah.
and you have done a really good job raising your child.
Yeah.
I have my son is a straight up savage. My daughters are too. But my son is, he's going to be a world changer. And, I want to say, Goggins says this, I'm pretty freaking sure. It's easy to be great today.
Yeah.
Because most motherfuckers are weak.
Yeah. Yep.
And this next generation is weaker.
Yep.
There's savages in there, though.
Yep.
And those savages are going to take control.
Yep.
And I'm excited.
We're just not talking about this. I talk about you all the time. Your protocol, your routine, your work ethic with music, your work ethic with who you surround yourself with, your work ethic in the dance studio 5-6 hours a day. She's got her own fragrance out right now, fire perfume line. I mean,
Oh my God.
I just love. I finally
love
found.
fragrance. I'll be looking
Me
that
too.
up.
I just finally, I love it that I finally found somebody in that age group that gets
sure.
it. It's probably because she's from Georgia.
I was going to say, the ethnicity plays a lot into life today, bro. Ethnicity.
Yep.
Culture.
But I
Culture,
was
that's
like,
life.
while you're here, I know the music is going to happen.
Sure.
You obviously became, huge overseas. You're going to make it happen. You got to talk about this stuff.
For sure.
You got to talk about this. It's bigger than your music. Your music's going to pop no matter what. But when you look at Selena Gomez and being
Sure.
so open about her mental health struggle, that's
Draws
what
them
the
in.
people need.
Yeah, bro. I
That's
agree.
what draws them in.
I agree. I
Well,
agree.
not only that, but it's also like, God gave her a platform, right, with American Idol.
Yep.
So it's like God has given a tool to utilize, and it would be almost a disservice if you didn't share those types of in a healthy manner of like your experience, strength, and hope. Even though take out an addiction or an alcohol problem, it's like no, she's a dog, like a grind. She's gonna outwork anybody at her age to get what she wants on a daily basis, and this is how she does it.
Yep.
So it's like those actionable steps that people can actually implement into their daily life
Yep.
is huge, and that's what is a game changer, because you look for motivation comes and goes. So
Yeah.
like that's gonna die, right? But you can get inspired by people, and when you see other people, especially humans, like what makes you different than me? Nothing, except that you are like out there hitting it every single day. It's like
Consistency.
exactly.
My best friend Jen Cohn, who I'm sure you guys know, Habits and Hustle.
Yeah,
Got that.
yeah.
We went out 2 nights ago, and we always talk about, I go, Jen, it's too much. People talk about discipline. It's the consistency. People can be disciplined and not be consistent at something. And I was like, they don't understand that. That's what this is about, consistency.
Showing up every day.
I'll tell you another one, not to change the subject. And I've met her once. It's not like I'm her agent. But if you guys don't have it, Nutza has it. A bunch of people. You got to get dialed in with Mel Robbins.
Oh yeah, she's dope. The 5-minute.
They'll let them.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Theory. I've got it on my audiobooks right now. It's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
It's this ancient monk theory about letting people be who they are. Let them. You just let them be who they are. We have 25, 30, 40
Sure.
triggers a day. It could be traffic.
Yeah.
It could be somebody at the cashier that's pissing us off. It could be a colleague. It's the first part. I was telling Hulk Hogan about it. He got it last week. Him and his wife, they went to download it. You let them be who they are, but the second component is let me stay at peace, to not allow whatever that situation that's going to be to take me out of my game for the day. Because when you're not holding on to that frequency and you're giving it out, you're now doing a disservice to yourself. It affects manifestation.
Completely.
It affects health issues.
Change your whole frequency.
Sleep patterns.
Yeah.
And apparently it's already done like over 15 million copies. She was on Lewis House talking about it. Write it down. Like let them know.
Mel
Mel Robbins.
Robbins.
And,
Yeah, I mean, I know Mel Robbins. She's fantastic.
it's a game changer.
Yeah.
More than all this stuff.
Well, we have direct control over us.
Yep.
That's what I can control. I can control how I react
Yep.
to you being you, letting you
Exactly.
being you. And I'm not going to let you change my frequency. I'm going to keep on
100%.
pushing. And if I want to be happy and light and let the Holy Spirit speak out of me, that ain't going to change.
You got it.
You know?
That's it.
It's like-
That's it. Yep.
You know what I love too? At 14, you had a conversation with your dad
Yep.
where he recognized some of your, I don't know, maybe not insecurities, but not strengths. No, I'm going to change my wording. He recognized your strengths.
Yep.
And he pushed you towards those strengths.
Yep.
Which I just love.
Yep.
Yeah, it's huge.
You know, because a lot of parents want to play it safe.
Yep.
Son, there's issues.
Yeah.
You know, maybe just get a job, 9 to 5. You're
Yeah.
going to do this. You're going to be happy. You're going to meet I mean, that's a good life. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
But he knew he had aspirations for you.
When we had that talk, and this one always gets me to tears because I just posted about it a few days ago, and we
Yeah.
sat down like one day. It was like after my first baseball card show, and I made like over $1,000 at 14 in 5
So
hours.
wild.
And he comes up to my room. He goes, look, he goes, I want to talk to you. He's like, a lot of your friends have a part of their brain that seems very common, and it allows them to learn, and it allows them to do different things that, I don't really think you have. It's sort of like, you're not interested.
Sure.
He goes, he used to call me fella at times. He goes, but fella, he goes, let me tell you something. He goes, you have a part of your brain when it comes to math and numbers and statistics and the way you're memorizing how many home runs or RBIs some superstar baseball player hit on average for the past 10 years of their career. Because I've never seen anything like it. Because you'll look at a card, you'll the back number of the card, but I'm trying to do inventory for you. And you're not even looking at the card when I'm talking to myself, and you're throwing out there, like, verbalizing all the information on the card. And I'm, like, looking at the card, and then I'm writing it all down, and I'm putting it onto the typewriter for you. Yeah, he's like, a part of your brain works so mesmerizing with numbers. We're gonna hone in on that. And it meant everything to me.
Everything.
That little vote of confidence from my dad, I just would go into school and would let all my friends know, like, that Darren was like the numbers guy. And then when they would argue about what happened at a game the night before, or how many points somebody scored, it eventually got to a point. This is the first time I felt validated in high school at 14, 15. The group of guys would be like, no, bro, you're wrong. We got to ask Prince. He'll know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. That all came from my dad.
Yeah.
All my friends knew. I mean, to this day, they laugh. I remember every one of their addresses and phone numbers growing up.
That's
in grammar.
crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I remember a lot of phone numbers, and I remember my address, but
I'll tell you something. We owned parking lots, and I was the parking lot attendee, and we had monthly parkers, and you had to memorize every license plate. So I had about 100 to 200 license plates that I had to memorize from the age of like 14 to 17 when I was a parking lot attendant, because you'd see them coming and you look at license plate, you just want to wave them on and get the gate for them, because these are, you know what I mean? These are monthly guys, doctors, dentists, lawyers. You want to just shoot them.
Maybe it's something with
customer
us,
service.
Maybe it's something with us addicts and us drunks that we got.
I mean, but there are also those very artistic addicts and drunks too.
Yeah.
True.
But I do believe that the majority of addicts and alcoholics are high intelligence.
Yeah.
We just didn't fit
It's a high drive.
into that normal
Society.
mode. And here's the thing. You said you were in the special classes?
Special ed.
You should have not been in the special classes. What the problem was is that you were smarter than everybody else, and you should have been in classes way ahead of where you were.
Yep.
You were bored in the other classes. And the same
Yep.
thing happened to me.
Yep.
In third grade, it was fourth grade. I was given a tutor. And when they gave me the tutor, I thought that I was stupid. And my dad is a dual PhD and a medical doctor. So he's a doctor. Very, very high IQ, 180 something. Worked for the CIA, NASA. He perfected the gray scale for ultrasound. He's the reason why you can actually see an image through an ultrasound wave. He figured out that when it bounced off, it could create an image on a screen through the gray scale. And I was saying earlier today, I was telling these guys that my dad's wall of plaques was so crazy, and I looked at it and I thought I'll never amount to that. And then in fourth grade, I was given a tutor because I wasn't.
I've had tons of tutors. Terrible.
Terrible.
Right?
Terrible.
You experienced it too?
Oh yeah.
How many times?
Well, my
I
tutor
tried?
was
So I
horrible
would cry.
because I was a chubby kid, and I got made fun of a lot for
Worst.
being fat. And my tutor told me, "Ooh, you have fat hands. It's gross." Stuck with fourth grade. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm grateful she did that, because she turned this man, me into this man.
Yep.
That pain, being made fun of.
We wouldn't be who we were.
Not
I'm
at
in
all.
the. I'm
I
in
don't
the gym.
regret any of
Me
it.
neither.
I'm in the gym.
Not
because
one
David
thing.
God, I mean, look at him. I will.
Goggins
I will
felt
tell.
like if he didn't have the dad
Totally.
he had, he wouldn't become
Right.
David Goggins the world knows.
Yeah.
I want to tell you just
so
a really
true.
fast story though, because I was listening to Goggins and I was on the treadmill and I was running and I was gonna beat my time and I had Goggins on my headphones and he was doing his stuff and I was crushing my time, my distance for time. All of a sudden, I feel this across my abs, and I was like, I just fucking tore my ab. And Goggins is still on my headphones.
Oh.
I have 5 minutes left.
Oh,
And I fucking did the next 5 minutes, and I couldn't get out of bed for 3 months.
he would have been proud.
Right?
I'll tell you another one. A couple weeks ago, I was with Mike Tyson. I go back with Mike 20-something years. He's great. He's so dialed in
Oh,
spiritually.
totally. I love listening to him.
And we literally just got in this whole talk again. We had a corporate event at the Hard Rock in Fort Lauderdale with my boy Ryan Fitterman and him, and just about like same thing with money. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he's like, Prince, when we think back like 25, 30 years ago, and we thought it was all about, because life's about like just working on that ability of humbleness and just putting a smile on people's faces. And if you're blessed to be a parent like I am, watching your kids do good and, having a great wife like I do, and, he's like, and just making people happy. That's what God wants. He goes, but for such a long time, we didn't know how to love ourselves.
Totally.
And I was like, man, I could champ every time we get in these talks. It blows me away because you really are like one of the greatest comeback stories in life.
Yeah.
For sure.
To see what he's done. And you had a chance to meet him in Vegas, Mike. So he's just, he's another one. He's a special one. Hulk's very dialed in. Hulk Hogan, big time, right? Yeah.
I mean, I love Hulk Hogan.
yeah.
Always loved Hulk. Always loved
For
Hulk.
me, that goes all the way back to elementary school in Rocky 3.
No,
Thunderlips.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, Thunderlips. I'm the man. And then I was at WrestleMania 3.
Was that Andre?
Yeah, Andre
Oh,
the
my
Giant.
God.
They had the
They're at
steel
the Silverdome?
the steel cage match. I think it was the first ever steel cage match.
Wow.
It was gnarly.
Andre was a wonderful man, Andre the Giant. I read a book about him and how he was gentle and loving and very charismatic.
Yep.
He was one of the biggest
Yeah.
human.
I shook his hand.
Did you really?
I shook his hand. I shook his hand.
God,
I'll
good
never
for you.
forget. He was in Winnipeg. Winnipeg was a hub. Well, I'm from Canada. Winnipeg was a hub for wrestling. So yeah, I shook his hand. It was
And
massive. He's a massive gentleman.
the only man that
Swallowed me up.
swallowed your
Only
hand.
time I've
He has
ever
this
felt.
guy has a
Yeah,
ginormous.
only time I felt
Yeah.
small was with Andre shaking.
That's amazing.
He has pause.
Wow.
But it-
I
This
love
was
this.
awesome.
I just loved how Hulk Hogan just, I don't know, just everything.
He's an American. He's all American.
All American.
He's all American.
And
Is
when
Is he sober?
What-
I mean, not to.
I don't,
no,
I don't
no, I mean he pretty much just stopped on his own. It wasn't
Yeah.
like he was anybody that had an issue. But Charlie Sheen sober.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
friend and client, he's doing great.
Love Charlie Sheen.
But a lot of those guys, I don't think when I look at it, it's not my job to
Totally.
judge.
Not at all.
But like, I just think Hulk might have been just a lifestyle. Like Ric Flair's
Oh,
my
for
guy
sure.
too, and
Yeah.
the way Rick lives.
Totally.
Like Rick just lives the gimmick. I mean,
Yeah,
he
he
is
literally-
Ric Flair 24.
like 24/7.
He doesn't care.
No off button.
You know,
Doesn't
there's,
care.
There's no off
That's him.
button. She had a chance. Newt had a chance to meet him too in
Oh, yeah.
Vegas.
He's a
and he was
character.
Rick. She was
Yep.
all dolled up, and
Yep.
I go, I'm just telling you, he's gonna start wooing.
Oh, for sure. And like he plays it in like you're not disappointed. It's exactly what you would think.
I mean, I would want to do a TikTok with him immediately.
Yeah, a lot
Like
of people.
immediately.
Yeah.
But if anything, it shows like the resilience in humans to the
Yep.
such a different degree where it's like
Yeah.
it does not matter how hard and how bad that you fall, you fail, whatever it may think that you tell yourself. It's like the people that we're talking about, they have fallen numerous amounts of times
On
and
the world stage. on
I was
top
just gonna
of it.
say in the worst possible way because it's with millions of people watching and giving their opinion of the situation, which, as we all know, no one should judge anybody because we're not walking in their shoes. And the only person that like I really now is him. You know, that's who gets all the glory, nobody else. Because man gave me what I have, and man is God gave me what I have. not man.
Yeah.
And man can't take it away from me either. He can. So it's like to watch these people navigate something like that, from a Mike Tyson to a Hulk Hogan, and then to see them be able to then turn their life on a dime and completely live it in a different way. That's just a test of like the strength that we have to endure within ourselves
100%.
to do that.
Yep.
Regardless if you're an addict or an alcoholic.
100%.
I think we're the lucky ones because we actually kind of get this little guide of tools that help us navigate these situations that we can, lean on and kind of work through all the messiness that we have kind of either caused or are walking through, and then you're able to birth into
and you're
a
able
person.
to be a hope to
Yes,
others.
Exactly.
Yep. Beautifully said.
Beautiful. Darren, you did not disappoint, man.
Yeah, you're the
You
shit.
came-
I'd
came
say
highly-
right there was the mic drop to wrap
Right,
this up.
that was
It doesn't
it.
get
You're-
any better than the way she just closed it.
Yeah, that was it.
Congratulations to you.
Yeah, man.
Like way to take what you have walked through and what from afar looks so appealing to somebody that doesn't know you and can just see like the flashiness of your life, and for you to peel all that back and really show the real deal of the rawness of what you had to actually hit your knees and succumb and surrender to what ultimately has brought you to the peaceful man that's sitting in front of me today. That's just a testament of what the power of this program comes. I mean, I'm like a little extra because usually during like a week upcoming to my birthday is more, you think about it a little bit more, you know what I mean? I'm like, you get a little bit more in your feels and more like the spirit, totally, because it's like the gratefulness, the gratitude, and then
congrats to you guys. I mean, this is great. I love what you're building or in the culture, and the fact that it's just about helping people with mental health and making those shifts in their lives, no matter what you're going through. You don't need to be in recovery from drugs and alcohol. If you're listening to this, you just need to, understand how to build that sort of mindset and that protocol to create the best life that you can for yourself.
Yeah.
And then others around you that are in your inner circle, guess what? It's a win for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
you, man.
Appreciate
for
you
coming
big
in.
time.
So, Darren.